With the introduction of Ferrari's new 2023 challenger, the SF23, we saw some intriguing design choices that went against the grain of other teams on the grid. However, one element was nearly a carbon copy of a part used by Mercedes last year, and one that was eventually banned by the FIA. So, let's take a look at the Mercedes-inspired upgrade Ferrari introduced, why they can run it while the Silver Arrows couldn't, and why the team is so confident about their chances in 2023. The new SF23 was outfitted with an identical set of cleverly shaped front wing slot gap separators that rival Mercedes had to remove last year due to legal concerns. In 2022, Mercedes arrived at the US Grand Prix with a new update package that included a new front wing. The original version, which debuted in the Austin pit lane, sparked debate because it featured 5 strakes designed to help modify airflow. Rivals were unhappy with the design because they felt it violated Article 3.9.8 of F1's technical regulations, which limited the ability of such components to provide an aerodynamic advantage. The rule stated that while such slot gap generators were allowed, they were not supposed to deliver a direct aerodynamic influence. Instead, according to the regulations, such strakes could only be installed primarily for mechanical, structural, or measurement reasons. Mercedes felt at the time that its design did follow the rules, as the aerodynamic influence was a secondary consequence. But with rival teams complaining and the FIA looking closer at the design, despite having signed off the original idea, Mercedes eventually decided to remove the strakes by the time the wing made its debut at the Mexican Grand Prix. Before the team removed them from the car, technical director Mike Elliott stated, "I think there's a fuss about it because in the regulations it talks about the primary use being for mechanical or measurement purposes. And clearly there's a secondary benefit of an aerodynamic design that's in there as well. We'll decide whether we want to argue that one or not. It's actually not worth a huge amount. That detail looks interesting, but it's not the big thing on the front wing." The situation surrounding Mercedes piqued some interest in Ferrari's plans, with its strakes also appearing to be shaped to aid airflow. However, a closer look at the rules explains why Ferrari went ahead with the design. As part of the revised technical regulations for 2023 that were published in early December, the FIA removed a key sentence that required such strakes to be primarily for mechanical, structural, or measurement reasons. This means that as long as the slot gap separators provide a structural connection between consecutive front wing profiles and meet strict measurement requirements, they are now fully legal, regardless of how much aerodynamic boost they provide. It'll be interesting to see if Mercedes has returned to the concept for its W14 car when they arrive in Bahrain for pre-season testing. However, for Ferrari, these new elements are unlikely to provide significant performance gains. Instead, the biggest performance boost is likely to come from the engine. Throughout last year, Ferrari and its customer teams Alfa Romeo and Haas encountered numerous issues. And while manufacturers are only permitted to work on reliability updates under the current engine freeze, it has been reported that Ferrari has discovered additional performance. Such a gain would be perfectly legal if, for example, improved reliability meant that the engine could run consistently at higher limits than before. Alpine team principal Otmar Safnauer, for example, has stated that Renault pursued a deliberate strategy in 2022 of pushing reliability limits in the pursuit of performance while knowing that issues could be addressed through updates. However, Ferrari engine chief Enrico Galtieri admits that only track time will reveal whether or not the team has addressed what he admitted was its Achilles heel last season. Preparation work for the new season is usually one of the busiest times of the year, and this winter was no exception, Galtieri said in a team video. Actually, power units have been frozen since last year, including fluids, so oil and fuel, and the only modifications allowed are those related to reliability. In fact, reliability was our Achilles heel last season, and so we worked over the winter to solve our main problems to try and reach the desired level of reliability. That was our aim for 2023, and our work this winter was based on this. Galtieri stated that the team focused primarily on areas of the internal combustion engine and electric motors that caused the most problems last season. At the same time, they were able to capitalize on their previous season's track experience. Expanding on the winter program, he said, "We worked on all areas, trying to understand the root causes of the problems we encountered on track, and used all our available tools to try and solve them." In fact, the work involved all areas from design to experimentation, including the assembly process, to try and test new solutions in a very short space of time. Ferrari won't know just how competitive its creation is until qualifying in Bahrain, but the promise of those early miles at their shakedown and the spectacular car launch provides comfort. Lewis Hamilton claims that he knew from the first laps of a windy Silverstone shakedown last year that the W13 would never be the car to take him to his 8th world title. If Leclerc felt similarly pessimistic even during such a short run at reduced speeds, he certainly didn't convey it when he said, "It feels good. It feels a little bit different. From the work we've done before the launch, I think we're going in the right direction. We took a lot of the 2022 car weaknesses and tried to work on them, especially on the simulator, and had some really positive sides. And on the simulator, it seemed good." While it is risky to place large bets based on body language and reading too much into what someone says, Ferrari's tone is markedly different from that of McLaren and Mercedes. The former repeatedly emphasizes the importance of realism, while the latter insists on the importance of early development and upgrades from the start. This is not the norm of teams seeking and expecting to hit the ground running. Given how badly Ferrari's challenge fell apart in 2022, its apparent contentment is unlikely to be indicative of arrogance or complacency. Based on the recent past, that would be an absurd mistake to make. As a result, if the team's early optimism and confidence in publicly running the SF23 on its debut are any indication, perhaps F1's audience should be similarly buoyed. Perhaps Ferrari's initial promise from the first races of last season wasn't a one-time thing, and that it hadn't squandered the opportunity to win again provided by the regulatory reset. Perhaps it's not up to Mercedes to come back strong and provide at least a two-way title fight in 2023. And it's not like Ferrari isn't addressing other issues that arose last year. Indeed, after investigating the team's strategy errors in 2022, new team principal Frederic Vasseur has already revealed that changes have been made at Ferrari. Beyond the strategy, Vasseur believes it is critical for the team to continually focus on areas where they can improve, one of which is team culture. 4 team principals and no drivers' championships. That is Scuderia Ferrari's unenviable record, especially given that Mercedes won 7 driver championships in that time, Red Bull 6, and McLaren and Brawn 1 each. True, Ferrari won the Constructors' Championship in 2008, but that was against the backdrop of Spygate, a scandal that threw McLaren into disarray and as Williams began its slow decline. Another important metric is longevity on the pit wall. Red Bull team boss Christian Horner has been in charge since 2005, and Toto Wolff recently celebrated his 10th year with Mercedes. Their team's achievements at the time were undoubtedly not coincidental. Thus, while Frederic Vasseur's primary task is to outperform Ferrari's odds, the final decision is not his to make. Stefano Domenicali was fired during the 2014 season. Successor Marco Mattiacci after less than a year, and Maurizio Arrivabene and Mattia Binotto were fired after 4 and 3 seasons, respectively. Importantly, all had overseen multiple victories and had even challenged for titles. This raises the question, what does Vasseur, a man steeped in motor racing and Formula One, but with smaller, less pressure-packed teams, need to do to go the distance and deliver Ferrari's first championship in 15 years? What Ferrari hasn't had since the mid-2000s Jean Todt era is the type of teamwork that defines its grid peers. Too often, the left hand has no idea what the right hand is doing, or even that it exists. Strangely, until Red Bull's powertrain operation is functional, Ferrari is the only team producing a complete car in a centralized facility. Such integration is invaluable, but it is frequently squandered. Todd, on the other hand, benefited from open budgets, thanks to the generosity of Marlboro, Shell and Bridgestone, all of whom spent what it took to win 5 straight titles with a multinational team led by Michael Schumacher, the best driver of his generation, and arguably all time. Then, after Todd left, everything changed. Although the budget cap began to bite under Binotto, he too had the benefit of excellent facilities. Crucially, Vasseur does not have that luxury due to the budget cap, so he must fight on an even playing field, not one skewed in favor of the big 3. The current Scuderia Ferrari is Italo-centric, with the exception of Vasseur, and teamwork across all divisions appears to be severely lacking. Genuine teamwork, such as that exemplified by the most recent championship winners, has been lacking at Ferrari for at least a decade now, and it shows in the smallest details that magnify when combined over a race weekend, then over a season. If Vasseur is successful in turning around Ferrari, he will be remembered as a hero in both Italy and his native France, as was Todd. But in order to do so, Ferrari's top management must allow him to do so with their full support and, crucially, without interference. What are your thoughts on Ferrari's chances this season? They have a lot of problems to solve, but they appear to have all the pieces of the puzzle. Will they be able to put it all together? Please let us know in the comments section below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking it and subscribing. Be sure to click the bell icon to be notified of future uploads. Thanks for watching.